Remembering the Fallen. I'm Chris Warner. We'll take you to the dedication of a new fallen officers memorial in Carthage.
Whose policies have led to record high inflation, and will the American voters blame them in November? I'm Lauren Blanchard with more on the inflation finger pointing here in Washington coming up.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Abbey. Jasper County, Missouri has a new memorial to honor fallen police officers. That memorial was presented at a special ceremony this morning. KOAM's Chris Warner was there, and Chris has more.
This is the new memorial honoring fallen officers throughout Jasper County, something Sheriff Randy Kaiser says was a long time coming.
It occurred to me last year that we don't have something that recognizes all of the officers that have fallen in Jasper County, like one central location. And so we kind of came up with the idea of doing a wall here at the courthouse.
Kaiser says it's important to honor those who have laid down their lives for their fellow citizens.
It's a profession that men and women get into knowing what the risks are. And unfortunately, some of those people have paid the ultimate price. And I think that we've seen that just very recently, and I think that needs to be remembered and that needs to be commemorated.
Law enforcement agencies across the county were in attendance. They read the names of the fallen officers for their agencies.
Patrolman William Smith, Charles Corbin, Eli Gray, Sergeant Scott Warner.
That included the Joplin Police Department, which is still recovering from the tragedy in March.
It's still kind of tough because we just lost, 2 officers and had one seriously injured a few months back. So it's still very fresh on everyone's mind. So even though it's tough, I think it's an outstanding way to honor them.
Missouri's director of the Department of Public Safety was on hand as well for the ceremony.
Well, I think it's important for all communities to remember those that have served and paid the ultimate sacrifice within their community. And it states how important that memory is to those that may come behind them, and also for future generations for public servants.
In Carthage, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Sheriff Kaiser plans to make this an annual event. A Joplin woman pleads guilty to driving while intoxicated in a crash that killed 2 people back in 2021. Authorities say Rita Glasgow stole and drove a car while intoxicated. She crashed into another vehicle at the intersection of 28th and Connecticut, killing Terry and Rhonda Koppel of Joplin. Glasgow pleaded guilty to DWI, death of 2 or more, possession of a controlled substance, and possession of drug paraphernalia. She's going to be sentenced in July. Doug Heddy joining us now. First look at the forecast. Another hot day today.
Yeah, it was, and it's been muggy over the past couple days, so it makes it feel a little bit hotter than what it actually is. But temperatures, they went into the mid-80s for highs. Of course, we had a lot of mid and upper level clouds across the region. Started at 76. Our temperatures just aren't dropping off very much at night. We still have a few clouds across the region, so we'll call it partly cloudy skies for us tonight. Thunderstorms down across the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. These aren't going to make it here, but we're definitely going to get the clouds a little bit later on tonight. Our chances for thunderstorms will start to increase. We'll look at that here in just a bit.
Doug, thank you. As the school year comes to an end, summer school comes right around the corner. The McDonald County School District is using a summer school program titled Summer Journey. The goal is to prepare students for that upcoming school year and includes giving supplies. Supplies are going to be delivered to schools in the district on Thursday.
For many of the classes that they're allowed to take for credit during the school year too. So you can take your art credit, your foreign language, music, drama, PE. We also have core credit classes that you might want to take if you're really into science. For example, you might want to take the forensic science or the microbiology class.
Summer school in McDonald County begins June 1st and runs through June 29th. You can see a full list of what's included in the new program on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Ahead of the next inflation report, both Republicans and Democrats are trying to pin blame on each other for the pain Americans are feeling at the pump, in the store, on their wallets in general, right? Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard is in Washington with more.
I think our policies help, not hurt.
Washington, D.C. now the center of a finger-pointing fight over whose policies are causing record-high inflation. March was at 8.5%. Tuesday, AAA said gas is now at $4.37 nationally, an all-time high.
These Democratic price hikes will likely be American families' new normal.
Both sides believe their party has the best plan to ease the burden on American families and hope to earn their vote in November.
At the end of the day, what affects American people are prices.
Tuesday, President Biden spoke from the White House to address the high inflation, but it was also a chance for him to take a swipe at Republicans.
My plan attacks inflation and grows the economy by lowering costs for working families. The other path is the ultra MAGA plan put forward by congressional Republicans to raise taxes on working families.
Republican Senator Rick Scott has put forward a plan that would require all Americans to pay some federal income tax. President Biden said Republicans have the economy backwards, the tit for tat between the two growing personal.
Every month he's been in office, inflation's gotten worse. So the easiest thing he could do for the American public is quit, resign.
I think the man has a problem.
How bad has inflation really gotten? We'll get a better idea Wednesday when the April Consumer Price Index is released. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Tyson Foods seeing more profits as meat prices continue to rise. The company says its net income rose to $829 million. It's up from $476 million a year earlier. The business has increased the costs of its beef by more than 20% and chicken by more than 14%. We could be in for another night of protests from abortion activists. This after the leak, of course, of a Supreme Court draft opinion. Many Democrats fear Roe v. Wade is on the verge of being overturned and want to take action with a vote this week to codify it into law. Fox's Manuel Rivera has more details now from Washington.
Several dozen abortion activists swarmed outside of Justice Samuel Alito's home Monday. Anger over the Supreme Court's potential decision to overturn Roe v. Wade showing no signs of abating. The Senate is taking action, passing a bill that would beef up security for justices and their families, as Republicans accuse protesters of intimidation and harassment.
This is unsafe. It disrupts the entire community.
It's not the only bill the Senate is aiming to take up in response to the draft opinion leak. Democrats are teeing up a vote this week to codify Roe v. Wade, which would make abortion rights a federal law.
An extreme conservative majority on the Supreme Court is on the brink of declaring that women do not have the right to an abortion.
But many see the vote as largely symbolic. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is confident the measure won't pass.
I'll call on others to comment on the radical nature of it. But I think it's safe to say there aren't 60 votes there at the federal level, no matter who happens to be in the majority, no matter who happens to be in the White House.
After suggesting in an interview that a national abortion ban may be possible, Senator McConnell appeared to soften his tone, saying most Republicans prefer for abortion rights to be dealt with on a state level. That is, if the Supreme Court does indeed overturn Roe v. Wade. In Washington, Manuel Rivera, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor another four-state hero. Robert Seltzer served in the U.S. Army from 1962 to 1990. Native of Webb City, Missouri, Seltzer received a total of 58 awards for service and achievement. We are proud to thank and salute Robert Seltzer. He's tonight's four-state hero. Doug Katie's next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, the Pittsburgh State Gorillas preparing to head to Edmond, Oklahoma for the MIAA tournament semifinals. Going to hear from the team in sports.
Well, it definitely turned out to be a very warm, humid day for us today. And the heat, the humidity, they are going to be sticking around as we go through the next few days. Staying warm as we go really over the next week or so. We are going to have thunderstorm chances back in the forecast, especially late Thursday into Friday, and then just about each and every day. This time of the year, it doesn't take much to get severe weather. So we are going to have at least low threats for severe weather returning. Of course, you can get my long-range forecast on my month-long blog, KOAMnewsnow.com. All right, upper 80s yesterday. We only dropped into the mid-70s. Low to mid-80s today. A little bit cooler just due to the thicker clouds that we had across the region. Still, it was very warm. It was muggy. We're sitting upper 70s to near 80 still in our western counties for us right now. And our southerly winds, they're not quite as bad as what we had yesterday, but still we're getting a south wind at about 5 to 10. These are going to diminish a little bit for us tonight and then into the daytime hours tomorrow, so at least it's not going to be as windy. All right, we still have some clouds across the region, so partly cloudy skies tonight. You can see thunderstorms building back to the southwest. These are rolling east. They're going to try to get in here late tonight. I think they're going to fall apart right when they get into our western counties. However, we are definitely going to see the clouds. Pretty thick cloud deck late tonight into tomorrow morning. The stronger wave staying out to our northwest, but they will start getting closer to us a little bit later on this week. All right, let's go through time. You can see the clouds increasing late tonight into the morning hours due to those thunderstorms out to the west. We'll call it partly sunny skies tomorrow. Let's go through the morning into the middle of the afternoon. You can see our temperatures warm into the mid to upper 80s once again. So we're stopping at 4:30. 70 to start, 83 by noon, high temp of 88, south winds at 5 to 10. So not as windy as what we have seen. Still partly cloudy skies once again tomorrow night. We'll get some clouds in here, more thunderstorms out to the west. Let's go into Thursday. Very similar to what we're going to see tomorrow. Partly sunny, warming into the upper 80s for afternoon highs. Plus the humidity is still going to be around, so we're still going to, even tomorrow, have heat indices that are going to try to creep up into lower 90s by the time we head into the afternoon. Now those thunderstorms start to get a little bit closer. Thursday night into Friday and then again Friday afternoon. So we have to introduce chances for thunderstorms, and we're going to have a front that just kind of hangs out within 100 miles of us over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, into early next week, and this is going to continue, at least low chances for showers and thunderstorms by the time we head into the weekend. 88 tomorrow, 89 on Thursday, 84 on Friday, mid-80s over the weekend. Stays warm throughout the period, but you can see those thunderstorm chances ever so slowly creeping back in.
You know, minus that humidity, I think, the temperatures look great.
Yeah, we just usually don't have this humidity this early.
No.
So
something.
That kind of stinks.
We'll see you in a little bit. Thanks so much, Doug. All right, coming up, more details into yesterday's capture.
The sheriff provides an update to the dramatic manhunt and capture of Casey White and Vicky White. I'm Mike Tobin in Evansville, Indiana.
Enforcement revealing fresh details into the capture of inmate Casey White and Vicky White. She's a deceased corrections officer that helped with the escape. Police say the pair planned to fight until the very end. Was discovered with wads of cash, firearms, even a wig after their capture in Indiana. Fox's Mike Tobin is in Evansville, Indiana with the latest.
New details are emerging one day after the manhunt for Casey White and Vicky White ended dramatically in Evansville, Indiana. The inmate confessed that he planned to get into a shootout with police but failed after officers slammed their patrol car into their getaway vehicle. Investigators say they discovered 4 weapons, $29,000 cash, and multiple wigs inside that car following the arrest.
I commend them for the quick and aggressive action. It probably saved a lot of chaos by doing quick action there. And that's why I represent the sheriff's office. I want to bring my people home, and I don't care about the fugitives' lives.
Vicky White, no relation to Casey White, ultimately died after that hectic exchange with officers. Police say the former corrections officer shot herself before police were able to take her into custody. She died at a local hospital while Casey White sustained minor injuries.
I can't shout out enough praise to all the law enforcement here in our community for the hard work that they do.
I think everyone is saddened that it ended this way. Our employees are going to take it very hard.
The convicted felon spoke freely with U.S. Marshals following his arrest, providing key information into the escape and manhunt that stretched across 3 states.
We interviewed the suspect for quite some time. I don't want to get into all the details of that because some of that may be used against him.
Casey White has waived his right to fight extradition and is in the process of being transported back to Alabama. In Evansville, Indiana, Mike Tobin, Fox News.
Still ahead, if you were denied COVID relief loans offered by the government, there's a good chance it was because of fraud by someone else. We're going to have more on this. New details about how your tax dollars have been spent and misspent on the program designed to help out people in need during the pandemic. Fox News correspondent David Spunt is at the Justice Department with this story.
More than 2 years into the pandemic, multiple oversight officials estimate that fraudsters stole at least $100 billion in COVID relief loan funding meant to help small businesses survive.
I think people made a conscious decision. We're going to get the money out, and if there's fraud, you'll chase it later. And that's just not an acceptable model.
Fox News sat down with Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz, chair of the Pandemic Response Accountability Committee, a group made up of inspectors general overseeing COVID relief fraud.
The Treasury Department has a do not pay system. Well, it turned out 57,000 loans were paid out in those first few weeks to individuals who are on the do not pay list.
That list includes known fraudsters. Authorities have arrested hundreds, and Fox News is told more are in the pipeline. According to court documents, Richard Avazian and his wife, Marietta Terabellian, adopted fake identities and secured at least $18 million in Paycheck Protection Program loans. Both on the run, Richard was sentenced to 17 years, his wife 6.
You selfishly took it literally out of the mouths of babes.
Nancy Calamusa owns a small business that helps feed infants with medical issues. She was denied COVID relief-related loans multiple times and blames fraudsters for taking advantage of the system.
You took it out of my patients' mouths, my pocket, my employees, and that's not okay.
Michael Horowitz says his oversight committee is set to expire in September 2025, but it could be extended if there are more cases that come before investigators. In Washington, David Spunt, Fox News.
All right, next, if you love goldfish crackers and you love Old Bay seasoning, your tummy is gonna be happy. Cheesy goldfish crackers are not just for kids anymore. The cracker snacks are now targeting adults. Brand announcing the release this month of Old Bay Seasoned Goldfish, a limited edition summer snack that's a collaboration between the Baltimore-based seasoning brand and, of course, the Pepperidge Farm snack line. New crackers going to be available nationwide wherever goldfish crackers are sold. I think that's disgusting, truthfully. I like seafood, but give me some Cajun seasoning on that seafood and I'm happy. I tried Old Bay, but to each their own, you know? All right, it is 9:25, 30 more minutes, give or take, of news, weather, and sports coming your way.
A Missouri man has died after a fall during a hike at the Buffalo National River in Arkansas. I'm Bronte Sorotsky with the dangers of group hikes as well as hiking safety tips.
The fighting in eastern Ukraine is intensifying, but neither side is making much progress on the ground. I'm Greg Palkot in Kyiv. That's my story. Coming up.
A Missouri man is dead after a fall during a hike at Buffalo National River in Arkansas. According to the Newton County, Arkansas Sheriff, the victim, identified as Bradley Thomas, was a group led by a man in Arkansas operating a guide service without a license or insurance. It was not the first incident the tour guide had been involved in recently. After the hiking incident, people may have concerns about hiking safety and how to avoid something similar happening to them. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with an expert with the Missouri Department of Conservation and has more on safety tips for hikers.
Following a tragic hiking accident in Arkansas on Saturday, the Missouri Department of Conservation has some tips to avoid being in a similar situation.
There are certified guides, trail guides, hiking guides out there. If you're looking to find one, the best thing to do is probably go to social media and maybe even do a Google search on who is out there and then maybe follow it up with social media, trying to get people's opinion, because some guide services are going to be better than others.
Tim Smith with the Shoal Creek Conservation Education Center suggests checking with the Better Business Bureau to ensure the tour guide leading the hike is legit.
There are some people who are probably running guide services that are not registered or not legal, so to speak. I know National Park Services, they have some credentials you have to meet to be a guide service on their property.
But even more important, make sure that the hike you're going on fits within your skill set.
If you're going to an area, do some research on that area. Figure out where that area is, figure out where you're going, what trail you're going on, what the challenges of that trail is going to be, and know what your limits are.
During an emergency, it's important to have a plan ahead of time and stay calm.
The best thing to do in case of emergency is stay calm. Try to stay as calm as you can. Depending on where you're at, you may or may not have cell phone service. So that's part of another reason you need to do some research on where you're going, what the trail is that you're going to be going on is like, and what you might encounter on it.
And if you're hiking alone or with a tour group, make sure to let people know where you're going ahead of time. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Worth repeating again, Smith says it's important to always have an emergency plan in place when going out on a hike or any outdoor activity for that matter. Pittsburgh City Commissioners met today to discuss a number of things, including the fair market rent rate. The rate is set by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development based on the cost to rent a moderately priced dwelling in a housing market. Now, As rent has risen in the area, so has that FMR rate. That impacts how much people could have to pay while using low-income housing vouchers. Commissioners today approved a plan to increase the payment standard, which allows for higher rents under the voucher program.
It'll really open up opportunities for those that need the program, and the landlords in town who have had to increase their rent due to various price increases, materials, different things like that.
The Commission also approved a recommendation to allocate $30,000 to Blue Spoon Properties to renovate a North Broadway property and open a restaurant there.
We are actually quite excited about it. So downstairs we'll have a 900 square foot catering kitchen. We'll also have a 900 square foot storefront, and it will also house 3 Airbnb apartments that we plan to rent out as soon as they are finished.
Well, the 100 Women Who Care organization donated $3,400 to the Higher Power Garage. The money is going to go towards getting more parts for the business. The Higher Power Garage helps provide car maintenance for people on fixed incomes, veterans, single-parent households, and others in need.
Servant, and you know, this is part of it. This is part of serving those people, because there's so much darkness, so many people that just are struggling out there, and you know, I can pick up a few pieces.
Higher Power Garage also has general maintenance and budgeting classes. For the first time, Britain's Prince Charles steps in to deliver the speech at the state opening of the UK Parliament. Britain's heir to the throne, of course, read the Queen's speech on her behalf Tuesday at the start of each new parliamentary session at the UK. The Queen's speech, which sets out the UK government's agenda, is read out by the British monarch. However, due to mobility issues, 96-year-old Queen Elizabeth II had to pull out of the ceremonial event for the first time in almost 6 decades. Going back to Show Me State, Missouri, House lawmakers rejected a proposed constitutional amendment guaranteeing parents control of their children's public education. If enacted by voters, the proposal also would have put constitutional restrictions on how teachers discuss race and racism. Some Republicans argued that the legislation should be enacted through state law, not the Constitution. One Democrat said parents already have the right to control their children's education by homeschooling. Missouri Department of Conservation released statistics from the state's turkey hunting season. In total, more than 36,000 birds were harvested. Youth hunters harvested nearly 3,000 of them, and adults got more than 33,000 turkeys. Officials say this year's harvest was up 5% from last year, but still 7% lower than the average. The Director of National Intelligence says Vladimir Putin likely to double down on his invasion of Ukraine in the coming weeks. But the U.S. ambassador tells Fox News America is in it for the long haul as well. Fox News senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Pelcott has more from Ukraine.
It's another day of fierce fighting along the front lines in eastern Ukraine. Russia still not able to declare victory in Mariupol, where the last pocket of Ukrainian resistance is holding out, despite near round-the-clock bombardment. The Russians are also hitting Odessa, Ukraine's biggest port city, hoping to disrupt shipments of badly needed weapons from the west. There are some reports Russia used hypersonic missiles in the attack, but Moscow still hasn't made any major breakthroughs. And U.S. intelligence officials say the next few months could see more of the same, with Vladimir Putin unlikely to use tactical nuclear weapons, but possibly intensifying his attacks if the stalemate continues.
The current trend increases the likelihood that President Putin will turn to more drastic means, including imposing martial law or potentially escalatory military actions.
Putin is also thought to be counting on the U.S. and Western allies to eventually weaken their resolve and stop supporting the Ukrainian military. But the acting U.S. ambassador to Ukraine told Fox News there's little chance of that happening, and the U.S. is doubling down on its effort to end the threat Russia poses to Eastern Europe.
We want to make sure that Russia not just stops their aggressive actions against Ukraine, but make sure that they don't take further aggressive actions in the region, which we're very concerned about.
Ukraine's foreign minister says if the West keeps sending weapons, his forces can push the Russians back across the border and possibly retake the Crimean Peninsula. In Kyiv, Ukraine, Greg Pelcott, Fox News.
A bit later, hiring challenges.
One nation, two very different economic outlooks. I'm Kevin Cork with the very latest on why there's a worker shortage in the midst of impressive job growth. That's coming right up.
Well, it turned out to be another warm and very humid day once again for us today. A lot of clouds across the region. Kept our temps down just a bit if it wasn't warm enough for you, but it stays warm. Next several days, thunderstorms back in late Thursday into Friday. Severe chances start to increase, especially as we head into the weekend and next week, as we're almost to that time of the year where anytime you get thunderstorms, you have pretty much a severe threat across the region. All right, temps, upper 80s yesterday. Clouds kept us mid-80s for us today, but well above where we should be for this time of the year. Upper 70s to near 80 outside for us in our western counties. Southerly winds have diminished a little bit. We have those south winds kind of 5 to 15, and these are going to stay decently light as we go through the overnight hours for us tonight into the daytime hours for us tomorrow. All right, partly cloudy skies. Not a whole bunch going on here, but we do have thunderstorms out to our southwest. You can see the panhandles, Oklahoma and Texas. Severe thunderstorms. These are going to make it to about the I-35 corridor, try to get into our southeastern Kansas, northeastern Oklahoma counties, and then just kind of fall apart. But we are going to get the clouds from those storms later tonight into the daytime hours tomorrow. So a weak little wave passing through. We have more waves, which are going to start to get closer to us as we go through the next few days. Tonight, just kind of in and out of the clouds. We only drop back near 70. Let's go through the day tomorrow, stop in the afternoon. High temperatures into the upper 80s. Still kind of in and out of the clouds. 83 by noon, high temp 88, south winds at about 5 to 10. Tomorrow night, again, we drop back near 70 degrees for an overnight low. And then on Thursday, very similar to what we're going to see tomorrow. High temps, upper 80s to near 90, partly sunny skies. Plus, the humidity is going to be high, so we're looking at heat indices once again for us tomorrow afternoon, back into the lower 90s. That's the way it actually feels to your skin. All right, thunderstorm chances get back in here late Thursday into Friday. These are all scattered thunderstorms, but they're going to be near us Friday, Saturday, into Sunday, with those chances kind of sticking around all the way through next week. Mainly dry next 2 days, but thunderstorm chances each and every day into next week. Now look at our temps. They stay warm into the 80s for afternoon highs. So if we look at severe threats coming down the road, we do have chances increasing as we head into early next week. So that is something that we want to keep our eyes on. But back on the 7-day, you can see tomorrow and Thursday, they look fine. Then we'll start to worry about thunderstorm chances by the time we head into the weekend and early next week.
And even those nighttime temperatures.
Yeah, it feels like June.
Yeah, it really does.
So,
Doug, thanks so much as always. Appreciate it, man. Coming up in sports, Pitt State track athlete fights through injury to win a conference championship. Plus, it's semifinal night, the Class 1 District 6 softball tournament in Liberal. Jacob Leonard has those highlights and more next.
The Pittsburgh State Gorillas are in the Final Four in the MIAA Conference Tournament. The Gorillas hit the road to Edmond, Oklahoma on Thursday, where they will face Northeastern State in the semifinals. The Pitt State is coming off a first-round series win over Missouri Southern. They'll be facing a Riverhawks team. Kind of gave them trouble in the regular season. Northeastern State took 2 out of 3 from PSU in March, scored 38 runs in the 3-game series. So the Gorillas know they got to be good, but they're ready to get to Edmond and take their shot at a tournament title.
They're a very competitive baseball team. I think they lead the country in home runs, and we just saw a home run team in Missouri Southern. So we have to keep the ball down, change speeds, and give ourselves an opportunity to win.
They can swing it. They're a really good hitting team. They also have some pretty good pitchers up there, but that one thing that really shows is that they hit the ball really well, and we know that offensively we played pretty well there. Pitching has kind of stepped it up since we played them last, so hopefully we can just kind of come out and put both together.
Well, tonight is semifinal night at the Class 1 District 6 softball tournament in Liberal. After a first-round bye, the top-seeded Jasper Eagles are up first tonight, facing Northeast Vernon County. Now, the winner of this one play for the district title tomorrow night. Bottom of the first, Taylor Hines clearing the fence out and right. 2-run shot, Jasper on top early. Next, it's Olivia Dumm getting one by the shortstop. 2 will score on that. Eagles extend their lead. It was mostly Jasper in this one. Courtney Spear grounds to short. The throw to first gets away. Emmy Bass comes home to score. Jasper goes on to roll by Northeast Vernon County 12-2. On the other side of the bracket, it's the hometown Bulldogs and the Osceola Indians. We'll start off in the bottom of the 6th. It's Elena Lanier putting it in the left field corner. That brings home 2 for Liberal. Bulldogs out in front. Now just after that, Kyla Porter up. Sends a laser to left, goes off the fence. Lanier comes home to make it 8-1 Bulldogs. Here come the Indians, top of the 7th. They rally all the way back. Throw to third, gets into left. Natalie Roth comes home, and just like that, game is all tied up. So bottom of the 7th, Liberal with a chance to win it. Kate Hatfield comes through with the hit to center. Taylor Swan scores, and that's it. Walk-off hit for Kate Hatfield puts Liberal in the district championship 10-9. Mount Vernon, it's championship night in the Class 2 District 6 bracket. Top-seeded Diamond Wildcats face Pierce City for the district title. The Diamond winning 15-5 in 5 innings to make it back-to-back district titles. Wildcats now move on to the state quarterfinals next week. Southeast Kansas now, regular season finale for the Girard Trojans on the road against Colgan. Both pitchers good early. Ava Wilson, strikeout ends the 2nd. Bottom of the inning, Lexi Robinson does the same for Girard. Game is scoreless. Now more from Robinson in the 3rd. She strikes out 7. Game scoreless until the 4th. Then in the 4th, bases loaded for Emmeline Sinnecott. Really high, but also really far. Grand slam for Emmeline Sinnecott. Girard gets by Colgan in a shutout, 7-0. Pittsburgh State's Trace Mosby won the MIAA heptathlon title over the weekend at Emporia State. For Mosby, it's her first outdoor heptathlon title in her decorated PSU career. But the most impressive part is how she did it. Mosby had not competed or even practiced this outdoor season leading up to the conference championships after a stress fracture in her foot put her in a walking boot for 6 weeks.
In the boot, obviously your hips are a little lopsided, so I get out of it and I'm like, my foot feels great, but now my back and my hip are hurting, so what do we do about that? So that kind of threw a wrench in it as well. We had to push back training even more. I was supposed to be running a couple weeks before conference, and then it was down to a couple days before, trying to loosen up that back.
There was a lot of unknowns that we had no idea how the foot was going to feel, how the body's going to feel. I mean, she hadn't done anything physically. And so we really had to manage, one, physically, to make sure she could get through it and be smart about it, and she was all for it. And then had to manage her emotions up and down, because there's some events that were a struggle. We had to figure out how to do it again.
You can check out our full story with Mosby on the sports page at KOAMnewsnow.com. That's it for sports. We're back with more news after this.
The job market continues expanding even in the midst of inflation and interest rate hikes. But just because there's plenty of open positions does not mean they're in high demand. Fox News correspondent Kevin Cork has a look at how this ongoing worker shortage could impact future economic recovery.
Hiring woes continue plaguing the country as fears over a possible recession loom. Still, federal employment data is sending mixed signals.
We have now created a total of 8.3 million jobs in my first 15 months in office. The unemployment rate now stands at 3.6%.
On one hand, job growth is proving steady, even as inflation remains at a 40-year high. Unemployment is still hovering around its lowest rate in roughly half a century. The Labor Department on Friday also reporting the country added 428,000 new positions just last month. So where are all the workers?
You cannot find anybody to apply for work.
For every unemployed person, analysts suggest there's at least 2 open jobs, creating steep competition for workers, especially in industries seeing increased growth, including leisure, hospitality, and manufacturing.
Right now I have approximately 12 people on staff, and we need probably 15 to 17.
And economists predict this ongoing worker shortage could jeopardize long-term economic recovery.
The supply of labor remains constrained, and that in turn is going to put upward pressure on wages and ultimately upward pressure on prices.
Financial experts say the job market could actually start winding down in the near future, saying a decline is only natural after a prolonged period of growth. I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
Gonna check out the new trailer for the new Avatar movie, Hollywood Nation, coming your way. Get James Cameron's long-awaited Avatar sequel and Father of the Bride getting a modern update. Here's Fox's Kristen Goodwin with the latest from the Hollywood Nation.
I have to figure out my boy situation stat.
Davey gets a date, Garcia plans a wedding, and the Na'vi return in the Hollywood Nation. 20th Century Studios released the trailer and images for Avatar: The Way of Water online after premiering it ahead of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness over the weekend. James Cameron's long-awaited sequel arrives in theaters December 16th. The 2009 blockbuster Avatar is still the highest-grossing film of all time and will be re-released in theaters September 23rd.
I'm engaged!
HBO Max released the first trailer to the new remake of Father of the Bride. The film gets a Latin twist as it introduces a Cuban-American family starring Andy Garcia and Gloria Estefan as the parents preparing for their eldest daughter's wedding. It will be available to stream June 16th.
This is my last chance for an American high school boyfriend.
And Davey's high school story will continue this summer. Netflix revealed first-look images and announced the premiere date to the third season of Never Have I Ever. Mindy Kaling's coming-of-age comedy will premiere August 12th.
Really Davey this one up.
In Hollywood, Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Going to leave you tonight with video of otters playing with some ice at the Oregon Zoo. Man, I wish I could do that right now. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.